The Chicago White Sox. This is a fascinating team to me because it's not just Fangraphs and their zips, but Baseball Prospectus and their Procoto. They come out with their projected standings, and they say, they list the standings of the other teams, and then for the White Sox, all it says is this team is crap. And you're like, wait, it shouldn't do that. It's a computer.
Yeah,
this should be,
fair.
this should be objective. And it just says, nope, crap. And I don't get it because I look at a team that has hitters throughout the lineup that okay, I see why he's there. You can't say that about every team in baseball, but I can see why these guys are there. For the rotation can be a little bit top heavy, but the Chiron reads are the White Sox crap. I am here to say that they are not. I agree with the idea that they should have a more seize the day kind of mentality. I do think that they should be taking the wild swings in free agency that other teams are taking. They don't have to be the Mets. They don't have to be the Padres. But I don't know. Could they be the Braves? Who could they be? Who could they be? Could they be the Mariners? Could they be I don't know. Could they do like something that resembles anything? I don't think that they're crap. I wish that they had more to support my feeling, which is that I think they have a good chance to win the division.
Well, look at their lineup. I mean, there's a lot of good players in this lineup, right? Like Tim Anderson, Luis Robert, Andrew Benintendi, Eloy Jimenez, Yohan Moncada, Andrew Vaughn, Yasmani Grandal. I mean, that's the top 7. Gavin Sheets and Elvis Andrus. Okay, fine. That's not as great. But, like, a lot of those guys have been all-stars. A lot of those guys have been on MVP, or some of those guys have been on MVP ballots. Obviously, they're going to miss having Jose Abreu around. But you can see like there's a lot of talent. Same with the rotation. I mean, Dylan Cease is like a strikeout machine. Lance Lynn has been good recently. Lucas Giolito has been good recently. So like you can see it. I just, last year they played such a dispirited brand of baseball, it seemed like. And, some of that got dumped at Tony La Russa's feet. And, I have no doubt that, having Pedro Grifol in there will probably be an improvement in a variety of ways. But, some of it, it's just like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of talent, on the club. And it's just a matter of whether or not they're actually going to play up to it.
You mentioned a couple players who are like Yasmani Grandal was terrible last year. Moncada was terrible last year. I'll take the over on both. I mean, Grandal's trickier because he's an older catcher, but there's no way Moncada's this bad. Like he was one of the worst players in baseball last year. He's 27. He's good. Yeah. He's never gonna be the 450 on base percentage guy, but I will take the over on last year's performance, and then I'll take the over on that over.
Right, dude. I mean, we could say that about Lucas Giolito. 81 ERA plus last year. That's not going to happen again this year. I just can't see that happening when, you look at his previous 3 seasons. That just wasn't the guy. Then you get, their starting pitching is interesting to me, right? So we've talked about Giolito. Like just a bad year, right? Like a really bad year. I don't, I can't imagine him repeating that. Dylan Cease, as Andy mentioned, so much swing and miss. Michael Kopech, guy like high ceiling guy, I liked him a lot. Been hurt, and now is this guy going to throw more innings for them? Can he stay healthy? All that stuff. Because if he can, that's a player, right? That's a guy. So Clevenger, obviously they signed. So there's an interesting mix of guys here, and sort of to your point, Grant. Like I think there's some bounce back dudes in there too that could like change their fortunes big time.
Yeah, of all the teams we're going to be talking about in our, well, actually, this is probably our last preview since they portioned them out to the roundtable hosts. But this is the second place team that would perhaps surprise me the least. I guess Braves Mets. Okay, if there's a Braves Mets, I'm not going to be surprised if one wins and the other doesn't. After that, it's going to be if the White Sox win the Central. I'm not going to be like, oh, crikey, this changes how I look at the sport.
Yeah,
it's just sort of like,
it won't be hard. You won't be hard to explain it and be like, well, they have a lot of good players who actually played well this time. Maybe philosophically we disagree on this, Mark, but like, I feel like with pitchers, when a pitcher has a bad year, I'm very quick to be like, oh, that guy might be done. Whereas when a hitter has a bad year, I'm sort of like, let's see what happens next year. Maybe I'm just wrong about that, but I feel like with pitchers, because the physical risks are more significant, like I'm very quick to like write off, I'm not saying I'm writing off Lucas Giolito, but like I look at his last year and I'm like, ooh, that could be a real harbinger. Whereas with Moncada, like didn't he have long COVID? Like, wasn't he sort of banged up? Like I don't know. Moncada was a 4-win player 2 years ago. He was a 5-win player. He was a 5-win player in 2019. Like he's a potential star. So I wouldn't. But I don't know. I could just be wrong about that. That could just be like a philosophically incorrect position I hold, which, first time for everything.
No, there's something to that. I mean, when you go to someone like Giolito, it's that instinctual how's his velocity, how's his strikeout rates. He's still missing bats. It's, there's levels of that. But I think there's something to that where, I mean, we've all watched, like, 1 second it's Tim Lincecum, and then it's not.
And then it's Tim Lincecum.
Yeah. And so that is kind of like the extreme of it, but that happens. And I think I'm bullish on Giolito, but I think the general point that you're making does hold some water.
Sure. Yeah. I'm not like extremely bearish on him, right? I'm not like, oh, this guy's cooked. I just that set off more alarm bells to me than a position player having a bad year.
Well, who else holds that philosophy are these danged projection systems, the abacus twiddlers. When you see someone like Giolito have this season, the projections have the same reactions. Like, oh, okay, we've seen this before. We got this hive brain of like, we know all the major league seasons, and we've seen this one before. So that there's something to that. We have this confirmation bias with us. There you go.